Hi, everyone. This is Jason. Welcome back to the show. Joining me today is Jon Farjo. Jon is the founder of LunarCrush.com. Lunar Crush is a platform that allows traders and investors to make informed decisions based on a wide range of information gathered from around the internet. But before we begin, please subscribe and hit the bell so you're notified whenever I upload a new video. Thank you, and now on with our show. So, Jon, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, and very well said.
So I have to say it that way because, in full disclosure to everyone, I love Lunar Crush,
Oh, thank
and
you.
I use it almost daily, especially when I'm looking at news and information on what's going on, because it has a nice little feature where you can like kind of gauge sentiment. And I'm hoping that you can show us around the platform today so that people can get an idea of what exactly it is that they would get when they use the platform.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be happy to. Maybe I'll walk you back where this kind of started, which actually it kind of started from a point of trying to capture what's going on and the sentiment in the community. We I guess this is going on year 7 of crypto investing, and so we've seen it all. It's been crazy, lots of different things going on. When we first started investing, we had Ethereum and Monero and Litecoin, and all these coins are coming out. And how exactly were we finding out about these coins? It was on Twitter, it was on Reddit, it was on forums, it was on all this stuff that we were doing that, pretty much, I guess you could call it unacceptable research, listening to just a few people. Four of us we set out on a mission to capture as much as we could, really for our own purposes, because we were losing sometimes. We were investing in things where we thought they were going to the moon and they weren't, because, oh, those 6 people on your feed, maybe they were wrong. And so we wanted to capture everything we could in these social channels. And so we got together and started doing that, and then realized, we have a product here that we think it would be a lot of value to the community. And so, because what one person said is really nice, even if they're a really solid influencer, it's great. But you can't compare that to the volume of the community and what everyone's saying at the same time. And as
Right.
a result, we see some really interesting things. And here we are, 100. I think we're about up to 150 million collected posts at this point, and it's increasing at about 125,000 to 200,000 per day. So we're collecting a lot of information, and we're organizing that across over 2,000 coins. And we use artificial intelligence, machine learning, natural language processing, all this great stuff to organize all this information and make sense of it all. Yeah, so this is the public homepage. So I'm not logged in right now, it's free for anyone to join. I should maybe talk about that a little bit. So it's free. You could literally in 2 clicks sign up your Google, your Twitter, or create a full Lunar Crush account if you want. And we have kind of this model where we give some of the information away without an account. But if you want all of the social insights, you have to have an account. And again, it's free. And so people can come on here, see a few different high level, market level social insights. We have a coin of the day. Today it happens to be 0x. Yesterday it was Tezos. Kind of fascinating stuff, because Tezos moved, I think it was 80% at one point in the evening. And we don't pick the coin of the day. The system picks the coin of the day. And so, we do limit it to like the top 100 market cap coins, but it cycles through automatically based upon our data. And so when you look at that, and we post that to Twitter and things like that every day. But when you look at that, we have 2 proprietary metrics. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, but we've got our Galaxy score, which indicates the health of a coin. So it's not looking at the whole market, it's looking at an individual coin. So VeChain's score of 78 is against only VeChain, and it's a broad-based metric that it really is a combined metric, and it looks at really the health, whether it be a community activity or market activity. And then we have AltRank, which I'll sort by the top ones here. Looks like Tezos back again. And so when you look at AltRank, it's a really fascinating thing, because there's this narrative. If you back up way to the top from an investing strategy, you're trying to earn more Bitcoin, You're trying to earn more US dollars, or wherever you are in the world, you're trying to earn more currency. And so what we wanted to do was build a metric that didn't just say, hey, all the altcoins are inferior to Bitcoin and you should only hold Bitcoin. We love Bitcoin, we love altcoins. But the reality is you don't want to own an altcoin if you're losing versus just holding Bitcoin. And so AltRank looks at price performance relative to Bitcoin, as well as community activity. So when you layer those two things together, you get some really interesting metrics, and you get some really like amazing projects, and you start to understand why they're amazing when you dive into the news and the progression of what's going on. So like I'll pick on Tezos again, why it's number one. Coinbase offering staking. It's on OKX and they're offering staking. So this is big news for that project. VeChain is an example. In fact, I'll pick on that one in a moment. But VeChain, a lot of news in China. And there's a lot of really positive bullish sentiment around that project. So what I will do is I'm going to log in, might as well. And I'm going to show you around the site.
All right, sounds good. Now, question. Is the platform open source? Like, is it something that can be modified by someone else to create something similar, or is it pretty much proprietary?
Great question. So, I mean, I would say, collecting social insights and news and all of that information, I mean, anyone can do that. Those are data sources that are out there. Some are free, some are not, but anyone can build an application on that. That's not, that's just a source, and we have lots of sources. But what we also do is we clean it up. We use AI to organize it and clean it and make sense of it all. We have an API available. So someone else could build an application using our data. In fact, we have multiple exchanges and hedge funds using our data right now at the moment. Some of them are even we have a widget library as well. So people can embed widgets on their sites and things like that. We're also working with ChartIQ and TradingView.
Right.
And, pretty much ChartIQ and TradingView are I don't know what the percentage is, but it's the overwhelming majority of exchanges and custom applications use those two charting libraries. So we're building our data into those charts. We'll be announcing some more of that information soon. But yeah, I mean, the site itself is the site, but through our API, which starts at being free, we have a commercial version that's paid as well, depending on the use. So, but yeah, so definitely. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you so much.
Great, sure.
I mean, the free site has plenty of information to get you started.
It certainly does, and we have a roadmap that's pretty intense. We're building a lot. I should mention our company, our team. We just got out of TechStars. We were in TechStars in Los Angeles for the past 3 months, and so it helped us kind of evolve our roadmap. And we have a really strong next several months of new things launching. In fact, some new big ones later next week.
So let me ask you a question about the information you mentioned, TradingView. Is it a partnership with them? Like you reached out to them and said, we are building this platform, we want to include your information?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked to them. Initially it's going to be like just making it work within their charts, making our data work because one of the challenges we have with exchanges is, there's lots of interest from exchanges in using our community data. But then the next step comes into, well, what's that user experience like within their exchange?
Right.
And then it turns into being a very slow deployment. And the reality is they already have charting libraries all over their exchanges. Okay. And, if it was as simple as just adding a few more data points, that's an excellent place to start with a few lines of code in a few hours, versus trying to build a whole new social section, which is great. It just takes time to do that.
Right.
Yeah. So right here, what we have is our portfolio. This is a mock portfolio. I do wish I had 323 Bitcoins, but I do not, unfortunately. But this gives a summary of what someone has, in terms of their portfolio. It shows their holding allocations. They can kind of change the time frame. I mentioned product roadmap here a little bit because what we're going to be doing very, very shortly is adding more community and social features. So if you could envision not just a portfolio tracker like everyone has, but more along the lines of what this would look like from a community focused portfolio. So we're adding much more features around that as well. You can access your favorites from any section in here. You can access the markets. And in the markets, you can, see, you can sort by all the different coins. We have a whole bunch of different data points on here. I'm just going to move your window over here just a little bit. We have a lot of different metrics that a user can access and turn on or off. All of our social indicators, all of our trading indicators, and our proprietary metrics like Galaxy Score and AltRank. You could even say filter by social volume or social engagement or shared links. So we've got a lot of different metrics in here, and there's going to be even more. So I'll pick on, let's go into VeChain. So this is our coin detail pages. And on these pages, we've got kind of a high level summary, and you can take price and compare it to any metric. So I could say price versus social engagement, or, bullish sentiment, or, say maybe social engagement. And let's look at that. And you can see that there's been some spikes. There's been a lot of spikes. In fact, there was a big spike in social engagement before we even had a move in price. And that is actually a pretty interesting trend that we're starting to see quite a lot of. We've got below that, oh, and I should also add, if I did want to see based on any time frame or anything, I can change that out. I can also show all of the metrics on here, and I can see all of them one after another on the site, and also have the ability to load an advanced chart. And this is a trading view chart, and as of right now, it's really just our pricing information, but we're going to be adding our community information in here soon as well.
Nice.
And I can learn a little bit about the product, which is also, or the project, I should say, which is also really insightful for a lot of people. One of the things that we want to focus a lot on is getting people to understand what these projects actually do. And, it's one thing to look at price data, but there's so much more to look at with all of these coins. So here we have our Galaxy score. So we can see it's looking good. It's actually looking healthy. And we have a price score, which evaluates the price over time. So we can see the price is performing well. Average sentiments 4 out of 5. So all of these are out of 5. They're averaged out. That's also really, really good. Social impact. So that's all of the depth of social. So quality accounts with lots of followers, lots of engagement, lots of retweets, lots of likes. Nice. All of that information gets averaged out. And correlation, which is really how does all of this great stuff correlate to the movements in price? And so we take all of that, and it shows, is the coin healthy or not? And it's a really good metric to really think of just discovery. Is this a project that is worth my time, worth my attention? Right. It may mean also you could use it as is this worth day trading, potentially even? And we have those discussions as well as some individuals. But so there's lots of really good information there, and that's also available in our API. And we've back tested it as well. And we have quant funds and hedge funds that are looking at using that metric. AltRank, same thing. Again, relative to Bitcoin price movements. It looks at the volume of the project, the social score, which is a lot of the engagement, and then the social volume over the last 24 hours. It's fascinating when you bring in the community metrics. It's really hard. There's this narrative of altcoins are all crap. Like there's this thing of all altcoins are terrible.
We won't use that word.
Right.
It's a certain word.
It's usually stated by Bitcoin maximalists, and again, I'm almost in that bucket as well. But I think the whole community is growing, and I look at that. I look at the narrative of, there's a huge difference between Ethereum and the 2000th biggest coin.
Right.
There's a massive difference. There's a difference between Monero and Litecoin and Tezos and all these big projects, again, relative to an ICO that pumped and dumped in 2017.
Right.
And so if you're looking at price only, when you look at some of these movements, a novice trader especially might tend to chase price moves in an altcoin, failing to look at the community size, liquidity. Without community, there's no liquidity. You're going to get burned. You might be able to buy it, but you can't sell it. Good luck.
Right, exactly.
So when you layer in community, you're essentially layering in demand.
Right.
So without that community, there's no demand. And so if you layer that in with an altcoin project that typically moves on micro news, and versus Bitcoin maybe moves on more macro news, it brings some interesting results. And so what I mean more by that is like, let's go back and look at this, for example. And when we look at this, these are all projects that have really good community. They look more familiar. They don't look like something that's going to dump 100% in the next hour.
Right.
So, which happens, right? Yeah.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
so back on VeChain, we've got some other metrics that we show on here. Volume, engagement, spam. We do collect spam. I'll point out that real quick. When we were first collecting, one of the things we wanted to do was build a spam-free news feed. We wanted to get all of the stuff on here that was, across Reddit and Twitter and shared links and everything. And when we started to do that, we realized, there's actually a lot of correlations with spam. And we've since had even some traders, some funds that have been using our API that have actually told us they're trading off of spam as an indicator. So, which we thought was kind of funny, but we're like, it actually makes a lot of sense. And, as an example, if I look at spam in here, so we see social, let's look at social volume. Social volume's way up. Well, is it real? Is it from humans? Is it from bots? Spam's up a little bit. Technically, this scale's still really low. So it might look like it's up, but it's not a lot.
Would you equate spam with just random chatter?
No, and this is where our machine learning has come in. We've gotten pretty accurate at collecting spam. And a lot of it is things like, some of it's really obvious. When you start to see more than like 30 tickers in a tweet and things like that, if you look at some, like an account that's been posting 100 times in the last hour, but they have one follower.
Right.
There's some pretty obvious things, and there's also some patterns that we observe. So we've gotten pretty good at collecting spam overall, which leads to a much more clean news feed. Cleaner, I should say, because it's never perfect. Because one of the things that is also a challenge in the crypto space, a lot of the projects, failed to think of things like SEO when naming their company or their project, their coin.
Right.
You have, I love Waves. Waves is a cool project, but when you type in Waves in Google or type in Waves in Twitter or anywhere else, you're getting pictures of the ocean and the beach, and you're getting all sorts of fun stuff.
Right.
You're not getting this really innovative project with a lot of progression, right? Which is what it is. So we have to do a lot to clean up the data.
Right.
And in some cases, exclusion is more important than inclusion. We want to keep the feeds tight and clean. So,
Right.
so I'll pick on another coin. Let's pick on Bitcoin. Why not?
Oh boy.
And let's look at Bitcoin. And there's something that we noted the other day, like social engagement. I'm going to go back a month. Actually, I'm going to go back a week here. And you see this move right here that was about 500 points back on Monday. So that just kind of, we were sitting here, and I don't know if you can see behind me, we have a live ticker right where my thumb is there.
Yeah.
And we were sitting here going, oh wow, it just jumped up. And we pulled up our site and we went, wow, it looks like engagement's up. And we thought that engagement was because of that move. And then we realized engagement was up a lot. It's hard to see here, but it was up a lot 2 hours before that move. And so we're starting to see, and engagement would be likes, shares, follows, retweets, upvotes, shared links is another thing to look at too. We capture all of the links that are across all of these social posts. And we even use that as a metric. So all of this was up a little bit before this move. And so we were starting to think, wow, that's an anomaly. What's going on there? Until we saw it happen again, and I'll just pick on Decred. And we saw it happen here. And we were like, okay, so that's interesting. So it happened here. We had this huge spike and lots of spikes. These are almost correlated with the moves, everyone talking about it's moving, but there was no move right here. And so there's some interesting things that you start to see, across the board on some of these things. So really insightful stuff.
But see, I like how to the right, like the about section
Sure.
under Decred, I like how you have so much information that people can look for that's external, like with the white paper, the website, the GitHub, the Telegram, the Twitter, the Reddit, the Medium. I mean,
Right.
that's you're not going to find that on most trading sites. This is information you can deep dive a lot of these currencies from one place.
Sure, sure. Yeah, and one of the things we want to focus on, maybe I'll talk more about this in a moment. But we want to bring that information to individuals depending on where they're at in their investing horizon, I guess. If they're just getting started,
Right.
what coins they're interested in. Are there certain things that matter to them more than other things? So personalization and bringing information to users that matters to them is really what we're really focused on quite
Right.
a lot.
Well, it's a great platform, and like I said, I use it to keep track of the market. So, it's interesting to me though that you're able to the social impact score is I think the one that drew my attention the most because it was like uh how many people are talking about it? How much is it in the world, like the
Up here. Right.
and you just don't see that kind of information out there.
Right, right, right. So, and I think, probably if we're looking at, let's say, engagement here, it's not so much having like one person can't move this.
Right.
It doesn't matter how big they are, they can't move it. It's looking at all of it together. And so I think that's the ticket. That's the key is like, where's the community? Where's the focus? What's going on? And what are they saying is the other part, because, we also look at feeds and, this is what people are talking about right now. And so we do a word cloud that shows kind of what is going on here. I like how Facebook's in the middle of there. So that's in a lot
I
of
wonder
things, and
why.
Bitcoin, of course, but Ripple, uh, probably everyone's saying it's going to $589 as usual. I don't know, but but lots of interesting stuff. Cool. So we also have a compare feature that lets someone compare two coins side by side, so they can see kind of one thing after another, how things performing. Kind of a nice way to make an evaluation across just two separate coins. And I think that's what I've got to show you today.
Nice. Let me ask you a question about what people's intention might be with the platform. Not you guys, but like users.
Sure.
Um, it's a lot of information and it's a great way to judge the market, but do you ever intend to include a way to trade in the platform?
I won't say too much about that, but there's going to be things that we end up building in the future. I will say that um, the data we have is extremely beneficial to exchanges.
Yes.
So, and if you have users that don't even know what a coin is, that are just looking at price charts, in an environment where a president can move an entire market in a tweet,
Remember
um, yeah,
that?
right. You've really got to expand your horizon.
Yeah.
And investors especially do. We live, we hear so much, technical mumbo jumbo about trading and patterns and all these, these complex terms that your beginner investor does not know.
Right.
So they're thrown off, they're ripped off. The reality is markets move based on community behaviors, and that's what we're tracking, and that's what we're going to do. And I think that if exchanges find that valuable, we will work with them. If the market dictates that we need to build some trading mechanisms in our platform, we listen to our customers, and we'll see where this leads.
Is there a way in the platform to make trend lines or the different markers that traders use to see where it's going to go?
Yeah, well, you'll see more of that in the advanced chart. I mean, you could be doing that in here, in
Okay.
price charts, if you wanted to. So you could be
Okay.
drawing your charts in here, and so you'll see our indicators in here quite soon. But
Okay.
you can add that in here with it. But it's not quite as powerful if our data isn't in it. So
Right.
that is something that we're currently working on.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, John, thank you so much for doing this with me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for your time.